Mono white, the combination of one single color that somehow finds a way to lose like every game, or at least it feels like that quite often. Whether it's from the lack of card draw or the lack of ramp doesn't matter, because today we are focusing on a mono white Nahiri deck that is literally made to ramp us by giving us extra value with a free equip every single turn and cheating out equipments. So let's make a powerful mono white deck. Here we are, everybody, and Nahiri the Lithomancer is going to pilot this deck because it is effectively ramped. This is a commander I've loved for a while and seems to consistently be overlooked in the grand scheme of Commander, but with more reprints, this deck is only getting more affordable, but it still has a way to go to be a budget deck. I did not include Mana Crypt in this deck due to the price, but this is still definitely a break-the-bank deck tech. This series name I stole on accident. So you now have been warned about the price of this list. Going through this brainchild, we want to talk about the heartbeat of this deck, equipment. Because equipment can provide so much value, they will hopefully help us overcome the shortfalls of white, which can be seen in a card like Mask of Memory because it's all about repeatable card advantage. Infiltration Lens is a similar card in that when a souped-up creature attacks and our opponents have to block, we get to refresh our hand with more cards that our commander can cheat onto the battlefield. One such of the cards I would love to be cheated onto the battlefield is Sword of Fire and Ice, because it not only grants protection, which has a lot of potential, but it also grants our deck card advantage. 2 damage to any target can help deal with anything from a Noble Hierarch to finishing off some Planeswalkers or a low-life player. But the final equipment that can draw its cards is Skull Clamp, which is actually really good with our commander's +1, because it turns it into draw 2 cards. But equipments can do more than just draw us cards. They can actually ramp us with cards like Sword of the Animist. See, this is the reason that equipments excite me, because they give us access to so many powerful effects, like Sword of Feast and Famine. I don't think this card needs much of an introduction or explanation because it's that influential in a game of Commander. And Hammer of Nazan really is ramp too, because it keeps us from having to pay equip costs. Think of Hammer of Nazan equipping in an Argentum armor for free. That's 6 mana that you save off of a cost, and now that creature can attack and blow up a permanent. Given that a lot of these cards care about attacking, it's worth saying that these triggers play into the strengths of white, which is attacking. White typically wants to do this anyway, which is why equipments work well in this color. But going back a second to talk about more destruction from our equipments, we have Sword of Sinew and Steel, which has to be one of the most underrated equipments out there because it's actually pretty cheap for a sword in terms of money, at a cool $7 or $8. But that isn't all our equipments are capable of doing. Cards like Bloodforged Battle Axe are going to boost up our attackers, and they're going to really make this deck tick by providing these powerful creatures with good effects. Godsend is such one of these equipments because it adds a great way to remove gods and those pesky Eldrazi. And as our creature gets bigger with these equipments, Lightning Greaves could protect it from threats, as well as Swiftfoot Boots being able to do the same. But we may have gotten ahead of ourselves because we are yet to fully discuss the range of things our equipments are giving to our creatures. So let's continue with Loxodon Warhammer, the reason our creatures can actually be powerful, as it not only grants a bonus but also grants Trample, the reason chump blocking may become ineffective, and Lifelink, which is going to allow this deck to attack and not have to leave up an army of blockers. Shadow Spear is essentially the same effect, but for less mana and with an upside on top. The 1 mana ability is not to be ignored, as it allows us to hit a variety of creatures we could not before. Sword of Truth and Justice is next on our list of equipment, and it is amazing with our commander. In fact, and really anything else that cares about counters. Sword of War and Peace is our last mythic sword though, and it is just amazing. So far, I've focused mainly on the abilities the swords grant, but it is worth noting that protection is insanely powerful. It's better hexproof and unblockable all in one against the color in question. But to finish off our equipment, we have a keyword soup of an artifact, the Sword of Vengeance, which is just a great all-around card. Okay, so the deck has good equipment in it. So what? and any deck can play that, and there are amazing synergies with equipments in, say, Izzet. So why mono white? Because of cards like Armament Master, because our commander makes core soldier tokens, meaning that our board is going to be super powerful, especially if we soup up this creature. Another great option for a creature that could be equipped is Armory Automaton, because it's so mana effective to do so. Because no matter what happens, we need to have redundancy in the deck from our commander to free equip costs to Auriok Steel Shaper, which reduces equip costs and also buffs our entire team of tokens. Balin the Wandering Knight can not only equip everything at any time for only 2 mana, but then is also given double strike. Like the rest of the abilities wasn't enough. As I go through and I talk about Brass Squire, I know it seems as though there are way too many cards with the same effect in this deck, and that would be an incredibly accurate statement if it wasn't for the amount of card draw we actually have access to. That warrants it. Plus, when we play Denitha and start being able to cheat things out onto the battlefield, a lot can happen. Let's suit up an Etched Champion, or let's use even more redundancy with Heavenly Blade Master, or we can give everything to a Kemba Ka Regent. If we play enough creatures that we want to suit up, then no matter what happens, we should be able to have at least one creature pose a large threat to our opponents. Core Duelist could also be a great target for us to equip, as could a Serra Ascendant. But if you thought the creatures in this deck were only for giving equipment to, then I present you with Leonin Shikari because it is the start of our equipment synergy. Pure Steel Paladin has to be the most powerful card in a mono-white deck, period. It's not only cheap card draw, but it's also essentially ramp. This is going to draw so many cards, and I'm very glad it was just reprinted to keep the price down at all. A card that has never been overlooked in Commander is SRAM Senior Artificer, because it is once again an incredible card draw engine in white. White doesn't get many card draw engines, so whether it's SRAM or Mangara the Diplomat, or even a more pointed card like Mentor of the Meek, we need to draw cards repeatedly so we can actually take advantage of those free equips. So Stonehaven Outfitter is here to help us out in this adventure to aid in boosting creatures and drawing cards. So the last 3 creatures we are going to talk about before continuing on to the other sections are starting off with Stoneforge Mystic, because it is one of many cards in this deck that can search for any sword or the Hammer of Nazan. Very similar in potential and power is the ever-fun Stonehewer Giant, because, I mean, come on. A repeatable tutor is awesome, especially in a deck built around equipment. Tajnar Swordsmith is also a tutor, meaning I'm starting to feel like there's a theme going on with these cards. Open the Armory fits incredibly well, and Steel Shaper's Gift does an incredibly similar thing. If all of those were somehow not enough for you, then we also play Enlightened Tutor, which makes sure that no matter what, this deck can play consistently, which is incredibly powerful and what a lot of more powerful decks aim to play like. But we have one final non-land card to discuss, because we are not going to go over every Soul Ring or every board wipe like a Mouse Calcify, so we are going to talk about the complete all-star of a card called Sigarda's Aid. This deck needs to make absolutely sure that we don't need to pay equip costs, and cards like this are going to make that a reality. So before this video is over, we need to discuss Arch of Arazka because it goes very well with a commander based around making lots of tokens. And Bonder's Enclave because a card that cares about power seems really good in the equipment deck. And if you want to see all the other lands, ramp pieces, and just the other wacky and silly cards in the deck like Dispatch, then you can either go to the tapped out link in the description below, or see all of my decks using the TCG player link in the description below, which happens to be an affiliate link. So if you click either of those links and choose to buy cards, then a portion of that purchase will go to helping the channel do things like upgrading equipment and help power more fun series in the future for no extra cost to you. But if you aren't going to buy cards right now, then subscribing and liking are the 2 best free ways to support the channel. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you have any changes you would make to the deck list, why not tell me about them in the comments below? Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.